You land in a new country. Within an hour, you notice something. People queue without being told to. Cars stop at an empty crosswalk, even with no one watching. Nobody spits on the pavement. A stranger holds the door and says, "After you." And somewhere in the back of your mind, an uncomfortable question shows up. Why doesn't this happen back home? This is not a video about which country is better. It is a video about one idea: civic sense. What it actually is, why some places seem to have more of it, and why that has very little to do with the people and a great deal to do with the system around them. What is civic sense, actually? Let us define it properly. The law tells you what you must do. Civic sense is everything you do beyond that. The things nobody is forcing you to do, that you do anyway, because you understand it makes shared life work. Nobody fines you for not saying "after you." No officer stops you for standing slightly too long in someone's way. These are not laws. They are choices. Small, repeated, voluntary choices that either hold a society together or let it fray. In our episode on the preamble, we talked about fraternity, the most forgotten of the four promises, the sense that we are all in this together. Civic sense is what fraternity actually looks like on a Tuesday morning. Not a grand idea in a founding document. A queue, a crosswalk, a door held open. Why some societies have more of it. So why does this differ so much from place to place? It is tempting to say it is about culture, or discipline, or national character. But researchers who study this closely point to something less romantic and more useful: systems and trust. Social trust. In what researchers call high trust societies, people behave well in public, partly because they believe everyone else will too. If you believe the person behind you will wait their turn, waiting your turn feels normal. If you believe no one else will, queuing starts to feel like losing. The broken window. There is a well-known idea from urban research called the broken windows theory. The core claim is simple. Visible disorder invites more disorder. One piece of trash on a clean street feels like a violation. The same piece of trash on an already dirty street feels invisible. The environment itself sends a signal about what is acceptable. The commons problem. Then there is a much older idea, the tragedy of the commons. If I jump the queue, I personally save 2 minutes. If everyone reasons the same way, the queue collapses for everyone, including me. Each small individual shortcut is locally rational and collectively ruinous. The tipping point. And finally, behavior spreads, not gradually, in tipping points. When enough people visibly queue, queuing becomes the default, and the queue jumper feels like the outlier. When enough people visibly jump the queue, the reverse happens, and waiting your turn starts to feel foolish. This matters enormously. It means civic sense is not a fixed national trait. It is closer to a contagious pattern, one that can tip in either direction, depending on what people see around them every day. It actually takes to build it. So, if civic sense can tip in either direction, what actually tips it toward cooperation? A few real examples. Rwanda. On the last Saturday of every month, Rwanda pauses. Businesses close. Traffic stops. For 3 hours, citizens between 18 and 65 work side by side on their own streets. Cleaning, building, repairing. Here is the honest part. It's not purely voluntary. It is required by law, with fines for skipping it. It began after unimaginable tragedy as a deliberate, structured way to rebuild trust between neighbors. And over time, something interesting happened. A practice that started as an obligation became something many Rwandans describe with genuine pride. Kigali is now widely regarded as one of the cleanest capital cities in Africa. Sometimes, structure comes first, the spirit follows. Japan. In most Japanese schools, students, not janitors, clean their own classrooms, hallways, and bathrooms every single day from a very young age. The lesson is not really about cleaning, it is about ownership. A child who has swept their own classroom floor experiences their school differently than a child who has only ever been a visitor to a space someone else maintains. Singapore. Singapore is famous for strict fines, for littering, for jaywalking, for chewing gum in public. But fines alone rarely explain Singapore's civic culture. Decades of sustained public campaigns ran alongside the fines, explaining why these rules existed, not just enforcing that they existed. The combination, over a long period, is what shifted behaviour. Enforcement opened the door. Repetition and explanation walked people through it. What India has, but isn't using here, is the part of this conversation that matters most. India is not starting from zero. Resident welfare associations exist in almost every urban neighborhood. But in most, they handle security and maintenance bills, rarely civic coordination. Panchayats are a constitutionally recognized form of local self-government, closer to citizens than almost any other institution in the country. And long before any of this, Indian communities have organized collective service through religious and cultural traditions. Seva, Kar Seva, community kitchens that feed thousands without being asked. The muscle for organizing large groups of people toward a shared goal already exists in India. It shows up at weddings, at religious festivals, at funerals, moments where coordination among thousands of strangers happens almost effortlessly. The question is not whether India can organize collective effort. We do it constantly. The question is whether that same muscle can be pointed at something as ordinary as a clean street or an orderly queue. Civic sense is not legislated into existence. It cannot be. It is chosen, one small decision at a time, by people who decide the person next to them matters. In the next set of videos, we get specific. Queuing, crossing the road, traffic signals, littering. The everyday moments where this either gets built or doesn't. That is next. We, the people,